May 20th, 2022. Today I discovered something the algorithm threw up called the Hunger Games. Now I don't like to just jump to conclusion. I let the day unfold around the discovery. I realized that it uses the number 12 for 12 districts as they fight to the death on this live television. I only have access to the preview, Preview, which I call a trailer, because where I am, these are like after the facts. This is where the leaded air molecules trapped me in somewhere between like the Maze Runner truth be told with the moving labyrinth, and nobody's ever escaped or survived, into the divergent, because there is the one in onus is spelled oneness. And then today, so it starts at the 74th Hunger Games. Now it looks very bread and circus. It looks very almost Johnny Depp and a Tim Burton, Edward Scissorhands, whatever, in bread and circus perform for me, because I was born at the bottom in a broken star system. Except I come Elder Scroll. I don't come built like the rest. I come ABO in an RH negative, where in that arena we are all one. And the ABO RH positive is a subset that we don't speak to. So this now poses and puts me in a lot of danger, having to force me out front. But I guess that's part of what the Hunger Games is. It shows just how disgusting they have been. I then look from the supreme intelligence and the supreme money grouping of collective bargaining with NIL, and then those at collective bargaining that are now combining RH negatives needs with some lower ward of RH positive, and making things really messy. But that goes into, the longer this time goes on, it goes to the catching fire, which is a different episode, as far as I'm concerned, of life events, since the RH negative's not really supposed to talk about what's going on in their regime or whatever they're called. I don't even know, because I'm just left here in the field. Then it goes into the 76th Hunger Games, and all of a sudden it says in the name Mockingjay. Well, isn't that convenient? That aligns to the 19th century F up in New York. And then I look for real world events to tie the illusion, which I know in my elementary school, when I had somebody come and claim whatever in national credits of a lifelong bond of somebody that now I have no access to, and in some place there's an SU and the V is for Victor and victorious. In America, the translation for Greek and other whatever is Nicole and Nicholas I named Alexander Jamy for my friend that was dragged into this Nicole, since it doesn't look very victorious upon entry. This is one of the Blue's Clues, shall we say. It came out in 2012. And it has a PG-13 for 12 districts.
It's your first year, Prim. They're not gonna pick you.
Primrose Everdeen. I volunteer! I volunteer as tribute. We have a volunteer.
Now at Lionsgate, when you already see that your little girl, meaning yourself, from the future that's already broken, is already in detriment and hurt because you entered this broken, you were pulled into this broken star system as an Elder Scroll. You are able to adapt and adopt yourself. There is records of whatever it was, because I had the second time cubit that I gave birth to, who came to visit me in 2001, without nouns, without pronouns, just as two verbs in the field. One entered one door, another entered through another door, and then disappeared into the galaxy, we'll call it.
Welcome to the 74th Annual Hunger Games! From District 12, Kansas City,
We salute your courage and your sacrifice.
There's 24 of us, Gal. Only one comes out.
You're stronger than they are, and you know how to hunt.
You really want to know how to stay alive? You have to make people like you.
Hope, it is the only thing stronger than fear.
I'll figure something out. Trust me.
Make sure they remember you.
I've spent a whole life, every room I enter, making sure that I didn't burn a bridge on my way out of the room. Since they entered the field in some unbeknownst way, they didn't come to confer. Perhaps they had a conversation. It went whatever way they went, depending on what they wanted to speak about.
May the odds be ever in your favor.
You can do this. They have to have their victory.
You have to win.
I'm not gonna leave you. You can win.
Together?
Together.
First one came out in 2012 as some kind of announcement. I think I might have saw it, but again, it's nothing that stuck with me or resonated with me in the moment of at the timepiece when it came out. In 2013, however, there's buried encryption at Katniss and Pita at Mel Lark, Alouette, Gentil Alouette, for mon enfant, and embark on a victorious tour and change Benham forever.
Miss Everdeen, you fought very hard in the arena, but they were games. Would you like to be in a real war?
Now he is the Donald Sutherland who is Pride and Prejudice. That is how I was born, I was raised, and what I expected at Victorious and Victorian in Montreux. I did not expect war games and having to be chemically and biologically beaten by the atmosphere and those that mistranslated into some larger than life new landscape, passing on a worse inheritance to the children, even though there were the advantageous trying to do whatever it is in meeting in the middle at midsize SUV. They've had opportunity to correct their whatever. They just took it to a different level in some expansion that I don't know who allowed. For me, this catching fire for Thor at Cousins somewhere in the 12 districts is what created Hella for your whatever. I heard the other day that your people call the accent, instead of Australian, they call it Kiwi. Never heard it before, except the other day. They brought it out on New York television to distinguish, since I call mine English. I don't have another word for it. It's what the humans pronounced when I got here. They don't even call it American. They call it English. Now, for some reason, while the motion picture preview is in English, the written description's in Espanol. For a glyph system and a patterning system that I don't recognize necessarily, because I only recognize entreaty verb. I don't have the sophistication the humans use in order to, I don't know, jerry-rig the language system in conversion into some pronunciation. I don't do that. I mean, on paper, in glyphs and crop circles and geospatial, the artwork, because that's all it is to me, in recognition between cognitive and some form of recognition. It's just symbols on a larger patterning system. But here's what the visual display says, because this one came out in 2014.
I never wanted any of this. I never wanted to be in the games. I just wanted to see.
Where did Veda go? Where did my girl go in Veda? How did I become sleeping with the enemy in some isolated event where now humanity has forsaken me completely in their motive and their hunger game and their digital epilogue to themselves? in how they're going to read things, how they're going to NIL things, how they're going to lead things in the future, how are we going to write more scripts, direct more whatevers, and they get lost in the moment. And in this montage.
My sister. And keep PETA alive.
I believe somewhere in the Academy of Motion Pictures, they do have a creed, a charter, a creed, or something. I have no idea. I haven't read it. I don't have access to it. But this Mockingjay, if they're participating, I do believe there's some solstice in solidify, solidarity, solstice type of a thing of illuminated. That there is an underlying agreement to the king that came before asking specifically for his mother's situation to change, so he was not brought into the world the way she was, in a broken star system. And humans denied that, or they rearranged his conception. And so he bonded a specific way, but it is not what he wanted to see for himself, just as I did not want to see this for myself. And there was a process before we arrived.
It's the things we love most that destroy us.
I want everyone who's watching to lay down their weapons now.
You're alive.
PETA.
That's the reference for Alexander James, or just Alexander, who didn't give me a noun. But he did arrive with a gentleman. He had a black leather, whatever, and he had a red card with my photo on it and my situation. He already knew about Jay. There was no Daniel at the time. Ben was here. And there was a meeting, perhaps meeting of the minds, where he said they were already working. He was already pronouncing, he knew who I was. He knew what situation I was in with Jay. He knew that I did not want to be with him. And if he had his way, for my future children's sake, he wanted them, my future children, to be born a different way. He would never wish my future children to be born with Jay. That was before 2005. But yet, for some reason, humans did not bargain correctly, did not follow through correctly, did not provide in any format. And so things happened in a whatever weird way, UFO kind of a way. And Alexander suffered, as did I, with the way that Linda was being treated.
He's the capital's weapon, the same way you're ours.
You will rescue PETA at the earliest opportunity, or you will find another Mockingjay.
Alexander and I were also born into this Jason Bourne by initial only calendar with a DJ FM AM somewhere set deep into its core in pattern that not the everyday human doesn't even recognize. They don't even know unless you pattern it and acronym it and show them that the word Jason, the word DJ, FM, AM, J is in the pages of the 12 districts.
State, both of which the U.S. is not.
And at the end of each of those, it has something in the bottom left corner that says Republic in it, which gets extremely difficult to explain based on there's multiple republics outside of this one republic. And I don't know how they're working that. I went looking for placement, an anchor, in one of the other local televised pieces. I went today, it was just in my daily whatever. They were speaking about this thing called the High Line, Line, has to do with the railway system. The railway system in the High Line, there was some kind of law and business dollars and cents. It looks like the business office needed. I don't know why. I could only imagine open some kind of studio or credit line with whatever. So they abandoned the railroad. I don't know why this is, but this is part of an existential problem of I don't know who they're business partnering with in the real world outside of the shorelines of where I am, where I'm being held. And so they have the year 1983, huge significance for me. And the real world, not the movie world, but the real world, all it says, the only clue that it gives, is that they worked within the law, within a whole bunch of different things to do a project to have the abandoned railway system to get the property rights back. They partnered together with whatever's around in New York City. And they turned it into like something you can walk on temporarily, unless the federal government needs the railways turned back. But while it was abandoned, they made some project out of it. And I hate the implication about my real world, where I am at the moment, and what this story's significance is, and how did they pull this off or accomplish leaving me here in these conditions.
Stopped running, those rights were lost.
Here's the only clues that I have to New York City real world business. Not the movie world where they have this supreme like parallel paradox. Because star system Linda to star system Nicole, there is a length of, there's like a parallel and then there's a shift somewhere in there.
And the land reverted back to the original owners.
So it was really in the interests of the private property owners to get rid of the High Line so they could reclaim the development rights that were sitting on their property, that the High Line was in the way of.
These people wanted to be able to develop their property rights, build buildings there.
With the loss of so many railroads, the federal government realized the country was losing many national assets.
Why was the country losing the national assets? Those are the Mad Libs that are really difficult to fill in the blanks. I don't have those answers. But when they raise the capital and the money, were they putting it into these Nickelodeons, which are like the small movie theater credits of where are we at to keep some semblance in the silver screen?
To combat this, an amendment was made to the National Trail System Act in 1983. This allowed an out-of-service rail corridor to be used as a trail until it was needed for rail service again.
What the legislation does is it allows a railroad to be taken out of service, but not forever. So a trail can be built on it, but if the government ever needed to put a railroad back in service, they could restore the trail.
So is this part of that trailblazers I keep hearing? Because, like, I know there's some part I'm supposed to be grateful for. I just, at this point, from this position, after going through not only biochemical breakdown, and pollution on such an epic scale, but then by furthering, breaking, like, into, like, private mental space, which is really difficult, in, like, a sonar, like, turned up the spidey senses for some, like, movie fanatic to really poison and hurt my actual genetic human, as if I wasn't hurt enough over the last 4 decades. Now it enters some fantasy league for some, like, uber rich shitbag.
As a railroad.
In the case of the High Line, rail banking worked for everyone. The friends of the High Line got the necessary certificate of interim trail use that allowed them to create the park. The owners who had property along the High Line got transferred air rights so they could build elsewhere.
Air rights, that's a problem, because there are specific people in this territory that are never supposed to make liftoff, ever. But yet it goes on, and these rules are being broken, and now new business deals have been made, and the world has moved into this modern era, like, in such a fast pace, it makes no sense. It makes no sense how they got from early 1900s with no air flight whatsoever for civilian to this disgusting arrangement the humans have made for themselves in a really dangerous, ongoing whatever with, I don't know how they're scaling this back. And then in 2015, The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 came out. And this was the last so far in the saga. And again, I don't have access to the full, whatever you call it, 4 of them.
I love you.
I love you too. We all have one enemy. And that's President Snow. He corrupts everyone and everything. He turns the best of us against each other. Stop killing for him. Tonight, turn your weapons to the Capitol. Turn your weapons to Snow.
I don't even know if I like that message, because I'm pretty sure I don't. Because between Brady Bunch and the Partridge Family at, like, a RH negative where we're all as one, I can't say those things. I can say that internally to our other RH negatives and try to figure out my way through where they're at and who do I need to ask for help and assistance to get back home to where I belong. But to do that in open air where there's an RH positive somewhere hanging around, that is like financial suicide. I mean, that's like instant death penalty. So I don't really know how to negotiate this one, and they put this out in the movies. I got really hurt same year. Wasn't me, but it was one of the shitbag partnerships humans put together in the original part of the Hunger Games. But it's an ongoing existential threat and problem to individual safety and health. Now, I did see mention of a hood, which I used my green hood in real world for a while before I started doing this YouTube thing. And the other night at Divergent, I did see they had a white silhouette with a silver spiral staircase and a descent down it. In real world, in whatever I was brought into at somewhere between like a UFO kind of an experience, have the black silhouette, black wrought iron, get to the bottom of it, and I'm exactly where I need to be and should never leave. And that's the piggyback.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 76th Hunger Games.
Now I get that they must have made a lot of money on their investment or whatever, or built themselves a lot of credits telling the story of the Hunger Games and what they did in order to get to where they are at some succession or billions or venture capitalists or some congressional district in New York, whatever it is, at larger game. But to force a Mockingjay extension, knowing very well that the 1975 babysitter whatever was causing havoc after the 1976 and all the attempted assassinations in between? You want to talk unjust and unfair? Yeah. Directed directly at me? Clearly. Because they read all the signs the way that the most powerful people in the world somewhere, reading the signs and directing all the world of hurt directly onto my person. Yeah, that's what happened. Were there people who could have redirected and managed things better? There is. Where they are, I have no idea. At Victorious, I don't really see any. Star 1978, Star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. Its Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. You know what I do see, however, today, in the real world, real news. I see that today, out of all days, it being May 20th, which is a plank symbol for me with a Z, plank and Z with a 0. There, and not in a Zico me kind of a way, something totally different. I see Disney Plus has some streaming event today. I'm like, I don't even know, how do you stream? Like, how would I even tap into this Disney Plus? Like, how does that work? Is it part of the channel package on Verizon Fios? Did it come with whatever Lou ordered? Or is this one of those new, like, really annoying and intrusive additions the business office keeps doing to feed other people's children that aren't, like, shouldn't even be invited to the table, but here we are, and they broke everything.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Lee. Well, if you
Oh, actually, hold
if you
on.
do not
What I find interesting is this AccuWeather right here at Aether says Saturday and Sunday there's going to be an alert for a heat wave. It says record 93 degrees in 1996. Then Sunday it has record 96 degrees and 1941. Those are the records.
we saw what the snacks did earlier
Exactly.
this week. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Lee. Well, if you do not know, this is National Streaming Day, and our parent company Disney is offering special access to the Disney Bundle. The bundle is a one-stop streaming subscription offer for Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. Last night, Disney celebrated a drone show over downtown Los Angeles. And there it is. Meanwhile, here at Channel 7, we have some special new offerings on this National Streaming Day. We have a new episode of Missing to tell you about looking into the disappearance of Corinna Slusser. She went from small-town Pennsylvania cheerleader to a sex-trafficked hostage in New York City and vanished almost a half-decade ago.
These are the real headlines that they're throwing at me. Can I verify them? No. But what can I verify? What can I verify? Yeah, I see my real pieces being put into some money-making schematic that I'm not benefiting from. I mean, figuring out how to stream is about as easy as figuring out how to get a free trip to Disney, since my son, the youngest, has never even been. And the last time my older children went they've gone without me. But only because of the whatever. They haven't had access to Disney through me in years. Because the money system's just not set up right. It's just not. It's not incentivized right. It's not split right. It's not on a pie chart, on a bar chart, on moving lines and indices. Nothing is set correctly in this economy. Hasn't been since before I arrived. Star 1978, Star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.